Check one, check two. Check, check, check. Check, 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 check. Check, check, check. Check, check. Check, check, check. Check, check. Check, check, check. Oh, I was going to call you up officially. Gigi Hawkins, everybody. Congratulations. Gigi Hawkins, everybody. Eric Dyson, everybody. These aren't on yet, so, not yet. And can you welcome Leah Knauer, one of our VIPs, actress, improviser, and social media entrepreneur, comedian. Totally funny things come out of her mouth. Once these mics go on, I'm going to make her say some. I'm not going to make you. I'm going to invite you to say some funny things. No guarantees. I like to try to use the time wisely. So, again, projecting voice. Leah, I just ate a hot dog in 2 seconds as I was... It tasted really doggy. Jennifer Coolidge, everybody. Drew Barrymore, do you have any questions or comments about the films we just saw?
I just want to say the amount of love and care that went into these films. I could just feel it through the screen.
So hopefully these mics will come on eventually. I will continue to project. If I missed you at the beginning, my name is Tony Gapastone. I love movies, and I started this film festival so we could highlight stories and talk to storytellers. We had Baggage Claim by Eric Dyson right over here. And you just watched I Really Love My Husband by Gigi Hawkins.
Yes, honey.
All right, so we're still going to project our voice, but let's start with you, Eric. Why, first of all, introduce yourself, what you did on the film, and something you're most proud about when you watch it on screen.
Hello. Okay. So,
I forgot. This is live streaming, so even though it's not in the house, people on YouTube can hear it. So eventually it will get in the house.
okay. So what am I most proud of about the film? So I wrote and directed Baggage Claim. This was my 5th short. And it's one of 2 shorts I have at the festival this year.
Humble brag, no big deal.
Yeah, whatever. You know, it's my 2nd year at the festival, so whatever. No big deal. What am I most proud of? I'm most proud that it took me a year and a half to make. And like every time there was an issue with any detail, like I really wanted to make sure the visual effects were done well. I went through 3 different visual effects artists. When it came down to
really cool
to the sound design, the guy who did the sound design said, "Hey, let's try a 5.1 surround sound." And you know, when you're watching into the theater and you hear these voices, and you're like, "Who the hell is talking?" And you realize,
I was standing over there, and I was like, "Shh!" I turned around, and
it's all. Hey, there we go.
Almost.
It's all part of the soundtrack.
Yeah.
So I'm very proud that we took the time to like get the details right, and hope that part of the story sort of translates in one way, shape, or form.
It was so like creative and stylistic. I loved how fun it was. My first question about it, where was that location that you had so many suitcases? How many suitcases were there? Like, talk about that.
So the location was the gymnasium of a church, and basically I made a contribution, and they said, okay, you can have it for, it was probably a month total.
Wow.
So I had some help, but I basically built the whole set myself and painted it. I rented 100 suitcases.
Whoa.
Oh my gosh.
A rental house, and then I, borrowed and found suitcases, probably another 10 to 15.
Wow.
Then we had to fill in a lot of the space with banker's boxes and things like that.
Okay.
So all the shelves were sort of modular, so we could make a short one and we could make a long one, and then we did a green screen to do some set extension and super high shots, and
wow.
yeah. So it was a lot of fun, but it also took a lot of planning and storyboarding and, life contemplating.
It was very cool.
We're going to dive deep into that life contemplation. Before Gigi, you made a feature film, your first feature film.
Yay.
You're obviously proud of that.
You
What
guys
else?
are the first people to see it, so
First
thank
people
you for
to
coming.
see it. First people to see it.
Yeah. What was the question again?
You have so many things to be proud about, but what do you just watched it on a big screen for the first time. This big screen. What are you proud about?
I am proud just hearing the reactions from the audience. Some people I know, some people I don't know, and hearing like the gasps and the chuckles, like that is the most amazing feeling in the world.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
So satisfying. Leah, what question do you have?
So good. Oh, I mean, so many. Was there something that you like were expecting in pre-production that was different on set and maybe like pleasantly surprised you or anything like that?
Oh man. In pre-production, so we shot in Panama, a place that will rain at the drop of a dime, and I expected to have to pivot, but the film gods were in our favor, and we only got rained out for 1 hour the whole time.
Wow.
So I was mentally preparing to like change things all the time. Actually, can I tell a little anecdote about a moment where I was like, this is the moment that the film falls apart? So that night scene when the four of them are in the house, we were like, the lights were set up, everything was ready to go, and the electricity on the entire island went out. And Aaron Ware, our gaffer who is here, who is from the Bay Area, like the blackout happens. I'm like, well, this is it. The movie falls apart, or I have to rewrite the thing. This is the thing they talk about in filmmaking. And then Aaron's like, well, the generator. And I'm like, generator? And he probably does a lot more than just flick it on, but he puts the generator on. We light the entire house for hours. We shoot for hours.
Wow.
And then forget that the electricity is out. We finish, we're wrapping, we're cleaning up. He's like, by the way, lights are about to go out. Unplugs the generator, we're back in darkness. So like that preparation and that due diligence, and Aaron and I had never met you before, but you showed up, like that type of preparation.
Yes.
Let us not have to pivot as much as we could have,
That's awesome. I want to know from both of you, we'll start with Gigi, what was the inspiration of the story? How did that first hit you? What was that like?
I took a micro budget producing class through the Gotham, and the big takeaway was like, what is your superpower? And I was like, I have two. I have a group of actors that I really love to work with, and a DP, Ryan Thomas, also from the Bay Area. Lightning Bolton Rental, rent lights from him. And I also have access to this location in Panama. My stepdad lived there for 16 years. He built that house, and he waited for the love of his life to come along and like to decorate it. And then he met my mom. Wow. That's him in the last picture. But I was like, I have access to this location, but I think we only have it till the end of the year. So that was sort of the like, now is the time to do this, or we will never do it. And so it was that was sort of the genesis of let's just make it happen. Let's do it. Did that?
Well,
was
how
that
about
your
the
question?
story? How about the story?
Yeah. So knowing those things. And knowing Madison Lanasee, who plays Teresa, how fantastic is she?
She's so funny. So funny.
I love what she does with a performance, and I love how brave she is as an actor. She is not afraid to just spill her guts and be a character that is quote unquote unlikable. Yes. And so that was kind of like, I knew I wanted to tell a story that she could bring to life as the lead. And so that was sort of the start of the story. And then I was thinking, okay, we have this location. People travel there. For what reason? Honeymoon.
Check one, check two.
Check.
Hang on. Oh, maybe not. Keep going.
And so yeah, that was sort of the genesis of the story. And the Paz character is inspired by my stepdad, who's like always barefoot and always laughing, which was the Paz character and tells me all the time to move at the speed of nature. So, so that was sort of the like bringing these elements together and understanding the strengths of who we had access to tell this story that made sense for this location.
How about you?
How
did the story hit you?
The story, it came from a handful of different...
You gotta put the mic because the...
Yes. A handful of different inspirations. Part of it was, looking at politicians, right, and like the kind of the lives that they lead, and like what happens if as all these things come out that they've sort of done in the past, and how some of them tend to be a little less touchable than others, right? And like, how do you ever become accountable for the crappy things that you do, or any of us do in our lives? So that was part of it. Like, what if there was a point in your life between when you're alive and when you move on to when you have to go through and just deal with all these issues one-on-one? And what if you did that and then realized, by basically facing yourself, that that's nice, but now you have to keep basically living until you get it right. And I don't know for sure that that's what happens, but like, it's a what if kind of thing, and sort of a cautionary tale, right? Like, you can't necessarily choose how you die, but you can only really choose how you live.
Okay.
I love that at the end. Yes. Yeah.
Eric, you were in my head, so you answered this question. I was just going to ask you, so Gigi, now you get to answer it, is what do you think your story, what questions is your film asking? Because sometimes we often think, oh, films give us all the answers. No, they actually cause us to ask more questions. So what questions are you asking? He's asking about what if.
I feel like personal baggage is like a theme within ours, so I understand why we played together. And
You get that?
and suitcases.
I didn't realize that.
We
That's
know,
so
we know
good.
something.
Suitcases. I think that the core question is like, can you ever love anyone else if you don't love yourself?
Ooh.
So that's sort of was the through line. And the answer is no.
Yeah, love yourself.
Yes.
All right, well, let's take some questions. Throw a hand up, and we'll have you project and say your name and
I see a question right here. Yes.
Gigi, I'm very much obsessed since I met you. Now I'm even more obsessed. That was amazing. I mean, seriously. And over here, this section, a little side combo. You gave a great answer to where this story come from. However, there was a little meat left on the bones. I just wanted to see
Yes.
go a little deeper with
I love it.
comfortable with answering why the threesome thing for the husband when they were just going on a honeymoon. What made you go back?
Yeah.
I love my husband. I really love my husband.
I love that question. I think that a lot of people, when they're not happy in relationships, they turn to sort of like external choices to reinvigorate. Somebody recently was like, yeah, usually people just like have a baby to save their marriage, and that's not going to work, and neither will a threesome. So this was like,
That's a good bumper sticker right there.
it won't work, guys. So I think that it's like, how do we take it to an extreme? And it was also coming from this character who is exploring, like, basically doing everything externally except for facing herself. And so that was sort of let's push it even further.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Allison.
For your first feature film, like, just insane in terms of like all the pieces that came together. I was so impressed, but I'm really curious about your dialogue, because I wonder how much was informed by the work you did with the actors, because you mentioned that you did a lot of rehearsal, and I'm really curious like how that shaped the dialogue. Either way, like the dialogue, what you gave those actors, it's just such an interesting. It just didn't feel like it was written. It really felt like it was found in discovery, and so I was just so impressed by that, and just curious about that piece before and then also through the rehearsal with your actors.
So in case you didn't hear in the back, it's about the dialogue, where did it come from, and
I think it's like there are sort of three paths that I think led to this dialogue. One is I write very like this is my voice as a writer, is kind of these like anxiety-driven monologue, women-y things, and so that's core to me. The second was I would write scenes and then I'd work with the actors. They'd read it and then we'd do sort of like improvised versions of it, and then there'd be these like little things that they'd say in a specific way that felt so like juicy. So for example, Madison improvised this Three Musketeers line. She was like kind of on a riff, and she's a huge UCB person, and so she was like, you know, kind of going on this rambling thing, and like, we're the Three Musketeers, and it's sort of this awkward reunion tour, and like, I'm like, that is amazing. So we would like then refine it and then go through it again, and that revising process was like, I think what made it so good for their voices. And then the third thing is there would be these things I'd hear in the world. Does anyone follow the Velvet Coke on Instagram?
Yeah.
It's like this weird 90s callback thing. And I saw this video of Gwyneth Paltrow in the 90s talking about yoga. And the way she talked about it, I took the framework of her monologue about like her morning practice and morning routine and finding the thing. And then I like took that framework, including her little voice mannerisms. And then I changed it to making coffee, and like that became the beginning of the Teresa monologue, the Blue Bottle coffee monologue. So like finding how people talk, and I like it when they stutter through it, and a lot of the things I'd say maybe like 5% of that is improvised little, like the actors adding on to something at the end, but most of it was written down specifically based off of the workshopping. Yeah.
The gap is the path. Like
that was improvised.
That was incredible.
Yes.
The gap is the path to the heart.
Yes.
Right? Oh my gosh. So good.
If ever you guys work with Madison Lanasee, which I recommend 100% working with all of these actors, but like just let the camera roll and let her do her thing, and then you will get the gap in the teeth leads to the heart, which
so good.
it's all a map.
So good.
So.
Yes. Yes. Oh, that's awesome.
Go right back there. And then Jamie, we see you all the way back there. We'll get you next.
Great. I was just wondering if the actor that plays Paz is deadpan like that in real life.
Is the actor that plays Paz deadpan like that in real life?
Sometimes. So Arta G is a high fashion model. I kind of want Erin to answer that. Like Paz is actually Arta is actually the goofiest person in the world, but they are trained like as a high fashion model. So you'll see them on the Balenciaga show. You'll see them on the, but they are the goofiest person in the world. They're kind of Paz in real life. What Erin, do you agree? Cool as a cucumber. Good hang.
Jamie in the back.
Hi. Couple of questions. So first of all, Gigi, you talk about great films, both of you. But you talked about like the impetus being the location and the deadline until the end of the year. So, and you've kind of hinted around, but did you have a script or just an outline? And tell me about your writing process. And the percentage of like improv versus the actual script. And then for both of you, first of all, great casting, especially both of you. But Eric, Kenny Cooper is my good friend. He was wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So I want to hear about both you kind of said it, Gigi, a little bit, but your casting process. And I was going to specifically ask about Arta.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think we have 75 questions in there. Let's see what we got, Jamie. Hold up. Casting, writing process, go.
So the sort of progression of my short films have been, trying to fix what I didn't get right the previous time and refining and what could I do with less money? What could I do with fewer actors? What could I do with fewer lines of dialogue? So Kenny and I had worked together on my second short, which was Baby Steps, which screened here last year. So I already had him sort of in mind. I really liked working with him. But then a big part of the story was like, all this scene description, which means nothing to the audience because you guys aren't reading the script. So how do you translate a story when there's, 6 lines, 10 lines of dialogue? So a big part of sort of the, workshopping part of it was just talking with Kenny about the different phases of when the audience finds out what has led up to his adult personality. So when you see things like, hear the voiceover of "Where's your brother?" The sirens, the kid disappears, the picture of the dad and flashes to monster. That was my dad, by the way, who was not a monster. And then the footage of the little boy and his brother, who also happened to be me and my brother and my dad, right? So all these things that weren't really dialogue driven, but were sort of emotionally driven by his expression, a certain level of cockiness in the beginning when he can't even get the girl's name right, to at the end where the transformed version of himself is on the phone doing a very sweet thing. I'll bring the wine, whatever, hang on, someone needs my help. So all that sort of micro dosing elements of dialogue that lead to the story arc without any dialogue was a big challenge for me, and then how to make it interesting for the audience. I didn't hear any snoring, so hopefully it was well received and kind of understood. So that was sort of the writing process for this, but for other things that I've written, it's totally different. And, like yourself, try to put myself in the character, try to listen as an audience member and say as little as possible to not make a story so expository that someone doesn't wake up and go, oh, it's really a nice day, but let the audience put that line in their head without having the actors just say every little thing.
The writing process, I just posted a 25-minute video about a step-by-step of how I did it, how I got to the script phase. So I recommend checking that out if you really want to geek out. But I think it was a 75-page script, and but it was very much written for production. So it was all the lines and what needed to be captured. So it wasn't being written for getting people on board, which is a very lucky position to be in. The casting, Madison was cast already. We had to recast Drew due to a scheduling conflict. And that started 3 weeks before we were leaving for Panama, which was a mad dash to find somebody who worked. And Travis Quinton Young came through a friend who answered one of my 911 text messages saying who all American, people pleasing golden boy. And he's like, I think I have a guy.
And with a passport,
With a passport. And then Arta came, and we also auditioned a bunch of people through our casting director, Emma Fleming, who is also a costume designer. And we ended up going non-union because Madison was non-union and the core of the script, and so we were on the edge. We're like, are we gonna Taft-Hartley her? And then so we auditioned a bunch of people, but very first thing, Emma was like, I know this person, they're interested in acting, I've met them and I just fell in love with them and they have chemistry with everyone, so what do you say? And I was like, bring them in. And then we all just fell in love with Arta, who had never been on a set before. Yeah.
That's good casting right there. Well, we have just 1 or 2 more minutes, and because, sometimes it's hard for people to brag about themselves. Gigi said she posted a video. She also is one of the hosts of the No Film School podcast. So if you're a filmmaker and you're not listening to that, what's wrong? That's how you can learn filmmaking, and she has been talking about this for the past year, and it's been really cool to listen and follow. We met at Sundance, too, so part of the reason why she's here is because of connections and relationships. So follow Gigi and Gigi Hawkins. Lost in Graceland.
Lost in Graceland.
Lost in Graceland on Insta, but also listen to the No Film School podcast because it's free education to make films. And I'm going to ask you both another question, one last question. And Eric, this is the second year here. We worked on a film together last year, and it just happens to be playing tomorrow. So make sure you see it at the Black Storytellers group. And that's also Jamie up there who's got a thing there. But Eric is also not just a DP and a writer, but he's a DP. Sorry, not just a director and a writer. He's a DP and works in LA on tons of shows. And he was just in San Francisco working on the new Steph Curry show called Mr. Throwback. And one day he texted me, you want to be a stand-in for Adam Pally? On Mr. Throwback? I was like, yeah. So I got to hang out with him just 2 weeks ago. It was so fun. So they're doing a lot more things. And my question for you is, what do you want to do next? Not what are you doing? What do you want to do? Maybe it's not even written yet, but what ideally would you want to be doing next?
Do you want to go first? Okay. Immediately, I want to raise money to finish funding this feature.
How much?
We're raising $50,000 more.
Okay, what will $50,000 get if someone wanted? We raised $10,000 one night in this theater, so let me just ask you, what will $50,000 get somebody?
EP credit,
Okay.
and less than that will get you EP credit.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and I'll take you to dinner, and
Okay.
I'll tell you how to travel to Boca. So I'll give
Okay.
you a and
And you get to travel wherever the film goes next.
yes, come with
potentially?
us.
Okay.
And actually, specifically, one of the things we have is like a package. I don't know, where it's like if you have a production company and you just want to like come on tour with this film and have your name at the beginning and the end of it. Like that would be awesome. So I'm looking for that type of support.
Yes, and that's an investment.
It's an investment.
Thank
yeah.
you. Okay.
And after that, there's two things. One is it is gonna be, it's like a studio movie that I want to film in the Bay Area, and it's kind of like a reverse Parent Trap, but Meredith, who's the girlfriend, she is the protagonist, and the kids are the little shits. And then the other is another micro budget film that I can control, and it's based off of this like very dark, twisted short story called The Darling by Chekhov, which I've never read before any Chekhov until this, and then I was like, this is weird. I want to do a modern like micro budget story of this. So I've been thinking about doing like, what would a 2-week workshop with actors look like, where we're kind of like workshopping, massaging the material and like exploring it, because that was so fun with this this project is the collaborative discovery process of it.
Dig it. Awesome. Love it. Eric.
What do I want to do next? I have a lot of things that I want to do next. Sort of the top of my list is a feature script that is probably in its 4th or 5th year now of writing and rewriting, and I feel like it's really ready. It's a story that deals with black male generational trauma, dealing with all the things that basically force men, specifically men of color, to push their emotions to the back burner. And it deals with addiction and mental health issues. So we have the support of the president of the Black Psychiatrists of America. We have the support of a handful of other mental health sort of specialists who are very much on board with, this is a kind of film that studios don't want to make because it doesn't fall into their, into their accountants, bottom line. But it's very much the kind of movie where, when you show them at film festivals like this and other, people see it and people relate to it, and people are like, fuck, why don't they make more movies like this? Why do they make so many crappy movies when there's so many great stories out there? So this is one of the stories, and if I'm very lucky, we'll be shooting by this time next year.
Let's do it. I heard both of you want to be doing movies, so we have cast and crew. Yes, if you're a crew member, raise your hand. If you're an actor, raise your hand. Meet these filmmakers. And hey, y'all, BraveMaker wants to be a producer of films. So we want to be creating a culture that comes up to these people and says, keep me in mind. I want to make your film, okay? So please do that. Go out to the red carpet right around the corner. Take photos with them. Follow them. They're doing stuff now, and you can sure bet 5-10 years from now, they're going to be doing stuff as well. So I was thinking about, I'm going to save this YouTube link when you're all doing stuff and go, look at them. They were at BraveMaker Year 6. All right, if you want to donate, text the word BraveMaker to 44321. Have a great night. Happy festival, day 3. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Right on. Made me happy. Yeah, I love it.
It was just the best.
And when you want to do stuff in the Bay, you have your